All right, so let's talk about quickly what we discussed on Sunday's webinar. And again, for those of you who aren't members or maybe new, every Sunday evening, right when futures open, we do something very similar to this on Zoom. And we go over a lot of our key indicators, flow from the prior week, and we try to put together some sort of playbook and outlook for some of the more important things to keep an eye on for the upcoming week. Okay, and Sunday, what we were focusing on primarily is basically cut and simple, very simply put, we want to focus, or the playbook calls for focusing on buying weakness. That's where the edge is for us right now, based on sentiment, some of the positioning stuff out there. That's where the best risk reward will stem from. That's where the best kick as far as rallies will stem from. And it's easier said than done, but we had a perfect example of what we want to look for already to start the week. Okay. We had bullish short-term sentiment, right? So let's just rewind here quickly, just so everybody's following along quickly. Okay. Up here, all right, and you can see some of the yellow bars, which signal the same thing, but we had some speculative heat. Okay, so in other words, things were getting a little too easy, right? In the option market, people were buying calls, not caring what they pay, same name at higher prices, and still cashing tickets. It was getting a little too easy. We saw that in the put to call. We saw that in some retail option sentiment. You could see it everywhere, okay? That's one thing. So that's the extreme short term, right? As far as the intermediate term is concerned, which is a completely different time frame, right? They're not the same thing. We look at positioning, all right? So now we're not looking at the small spec players. We're looking at the funds, the hedge funds, right? The syndicates, the groups out there that can't be as nimble. And how are they positioned? Okay, and that's, we want to get a read on sentiment. And positioning was still extremely favorable. Okay, so you had a rather unique situation where the short term things got a little too hot, right? People in weeklies thought they could make a living trading weeklies, okay? But at the same time, you had a huge pile of money on the sidelines, right? We call them the non-believers, which the groups and individuals who have doubted this rally the whole way up, looking for a retest of the lows, a break, a depression, you name it, right? So we refer to them as the non-believers. They haven't really budged, okay? They have refused to chase or find a spot to get into this market. All right. So the reason why it's unique, on a shorter term time frame, you got some heat, which increases the probability of a short term wash, a pullback. Okay. So what that does, that'll punch these sloppy bulls who we're chasing here, okay, in the jaw, right? If they're in weeklies, kapow, they got hit over the head. Okay. And we were talking about a max pain setup, right? The max pain, where would the most pain amongst players out there be felt, right? And the max pain setup was to punch these short-term players, these spec traders, right in the face, right? Get them, put them on tilt. And at the same time, not allow that non-believer camp too big of a window to get in on a pullback, okay? And then ultimately they'd be forced to chase, and you'll set up the next leg higher, okay? So that's the max pain scenario, all right? So without jumping the gun, what we were looking for this week, right? We want to look for entries. We want to focus on long entries, especially overnight stuff. Like day trading stuff, we can be extremely nimble, right? So you can get sloppy. As long as you're using a stop, you're going to have more losses, obviously. But if you're okay with that, you don't have to be as disciplined. Swing trading takes a lot more discipline. Entries mean everything when you're swing trading, especially options, okay? So the playbook was calling for looking for entries off weakness when sentiment and sweeper activity are two main signals accommodate, right? When they're favorable, all right? So we had this yank. We went from hot, extreme bullish short-term sentiment to now bearish short-term sentiment, just like that, okay? And that's where we want to look for entries, whether we're playing for a tactical trade, right? Meaning if we're looking for just this snapback type thingy and we want to dump into that, or we want to buy with some time, right? A couple months out, 3, 6, 9 months out for that larger risk reward, okay? But we want to focus for the most part, all our potential new entries, okay, down where we see both sentiment and sweeper activity favorable, okay? So to start the week, we got a perfect example of how we would like this thing to play out ideally, right? So this is the ideal way this thing plays out, okay? You got the wash, you get the snapback rally, right? So now what they do? They frustrated the crap out of these sloppy bulls up here chasing, right? They frustrated the crap out of these bears shorting into the hole looking for downside. Now what we want to continue to see, we want to see those short-term spec bulls continue to be frustrated. Why? Because if we just head higher, these guys are going to think that's a one-off fluke and just continue to be, you know, cocky and buy calls and think things just go straight up. Right? We don't want that. Because then why don't we want that? Okay, it's not because we don't want to see other people make money, because then we're going to run into the same risk that we had over here. It's going to put that same exact risk on the table, meaning we can't get long anything into this because the potential for this wash, the odds have increased. It's back on the table. Okay? So we don't want that. We don't want this market to rip higher from here. Okay? What we want is we want something like this or like this. Okay? Where they destroy both sides and frustrate both sides. Okay? And what's likely to happen if that non-believer crowd here, right? That pile of money, those non-believers, okay? They hear every day that the Fed is going to throw in the kitchen sink every day. Right now they're buying corporate bonds, they're buying this, they're printing that, they're printing this. They're not even thinking about raising rates, okay? Eventually, this non-believer money is going to look to take advantage of dips, okay? And it doesn't take too long for the market to figure that out eventually and force them to chase. You understand? So that would be the ideal setup and scenario out of here. You got rid of this pain in the ass over the short term, okay? And it allowed us to find quality risk reward entries off weakness for potentially that next leg higher. Okay. So again, that's the max pain trade, and that's the ideal setup, right? Doesn't have to work out that way, but that's where this market, the market gods, will hurt the most amount of players. Okay. Could very easily we just rip higher from here. Okay. Very easily. We don't have a crystal ball. But the difference is, for me at least, and what the playbook is calling for, is to not chase that because of the added risk, right? So for me, to break it down to you in a simple strategy, for me to add any swing positions, okay, stuff I'm not looking to flip intraday or flip the very next day, positions, okay, the likelihood is they're going to come over here. Any new swings I add, okay. For the rest of it, I'm looking to day trade, and when things get cooked like this, I want to be even more careful, you know, so I don't get caught in this quick wash thing, right? So I'm going to trade everything else tactical, and my swing, any new swing entries that I'm being selective about, right? Because I'm looking to swing the best action out there. I'm not looking to swing trade sweepers and weeklies, right? I'm looking to swing trade off missiles that show up in October strikes, okay? They're going to come, my new swing entries are going to come off things like this. Make sense? All right, so that's, you know, that's what we were looking for coming into the week. And so far, right, it's only been a couple of days, it at least started off the way we wanted it to and we were looking for. Right? They found buyers. The selling was, there was a lot of velocity behind it, but they still, you know, a lot of us thought when we were talking up here about, you know, a couple 100-point wash in the S&P, we didn't think it was going to come in a freaking day, but it came in a day, you know? So that's the way, you know, and you see what that does, right? It's not based off a hunch. It's not based off my gut feeling. It's not based off me handicapping PE ratios, right? It's based off how players are positioned in the market. And that's all, to me, that's all that matters. You know, to me, that's all that matters. Okay. So the way I'm going to keep myself out of trouble, right, is chasing into the highs today, or especially another up day tomorrow, right? Starting new swing positions there. That's going to keep me out of trouble. Okay. There's always the risk that the market continues higher, but that's not going to bother me because that's not in my playbook right now. Okay. Because of the short-term spec heat out there, there's a higher probability that this wash will come. Okay. So when we have short-term sentiment in our favor, like we did over here, that takes away the increased odds of this wash. It already happened. Okay. So now we go back to that non-believer pool of money, and there's a higher probability that they're going to come in and buy those dips because they have to. Okay. And as long as this remains the way it is, the playbook stays the same way, right? The period of time that this playbook, you take it and flush it down the toilet bowl, is going to be when hedge funds and all that positioning stuff we look at religiously is showing us that that non-believer camp is all in as opposed to not in. You understand? Because then Why is the playbook change? Because then this dip can turn into something a lot bigger, right? If everybody's all in here, who's going to buy this dip? If everybody's all in here, how much potential selling can come off this dip? All right? It's a whole different ballgame. So that's why the playbook calls for what the playbook calls right now. All right? So if you're looking to play off the playbook, your positions should come at least when sentiment is favorable, even if you don't have a bullish short-term sentiment signal close to it. But what you want to avoid is chasing into short-term heat, okay? Because again, it's all about odds and probabilities. That's what I think a lot of players don't realize. Doesn't mean it's going to play out that way every single time. Doesn't mean that, okay? But what we know from experience, at least from what I know from experience, is a lot more than not, it's going to play out that way, right? A lot more than not, if I can avoid chasing this, I won't get lumped up, hit over the head with this. So, okay, and if we do go into this sort of consolidation, and you don't even know you're in consolidation until you're well into it. You know, right now, you don't know. Right here, you know, without looking at sentiment and positioning, you don't know if this thing is going to turn into or has a good chance of turning into something bigger. Right? And the same thing here. You don't know if this thing is going to break out and just rip higher and melt up. Okay, but the odds of that happening the way players are positioned right now, it's calling for something like this. Okay, and then what happens is as we consolidate, the spec heat over the short term slowly gets washed away. And now you don't have that short-term spec heat, and you have that pool of non-believer money looking to get into the market. So, and I see already, like, you know, some of you maybe aren't interested in it and are more concerned with, you know, a buy order you saw today or whatever the case may be, without having some idea of what the hell you're doing. It doesn't mean anything. Okay, all these orders don't mean anything. And that's what I keep telling you. Like, a lot of you people ask me, how come Apple made the top bet list over here and Apple caught a bigger order up here and didn't make the top bet list? Okay, it's where this action comes in. It's important. You know, it's where this action comes in. Okay, because what we know is, we know that the smart money, when they want to buy something, right? You hear it all the time. You hear guys like Tudor Jones and Tepper and all the guys who are on the sidelines right now, okay, that they hate chasing. They hate it, okay? When the pros need to chase, they're forced to chase. All right? I don't know about you guys. I don't want to swing trade off forced buying. I want to swing trade off buying that somebody who knows a lot more than myself and you guys is making a bet for a reason. Okay? When you see Apple sweeper number 500 off a 15-day straight rally, that's not somebody in the know who has a desire to buy Apple based on some information. Okay, they're players who are short Apple and need to hedge because they're getting run over. They're players that need to show some Apple exposure on their book because they have none. You understand? So for me, like sweepers tell me, sweepers are almost like they, as far as swing trading is concerned, they tell me where the money's going, right? Where the momentum is and where the smart money is positioning, okay? But if I don't have sentiment on my side, if I have sentiment against me, I don't care what they're buying. I'm not I didn't miss this rally. I'm not trying to sound arrogant, but I wasn't on the sidelines for this rally. I'm not forcing myself to do anything. All right. So it matters where these things, where these names catch the action, where the market is, where sentiment is. But if you're a member, that's what you're a member for. That's what you're a member for. And I know that no matter how many times I tell you, you're going to keep asking me, did what's XYZ catch any action? Did shop catch any action? I know it's up 600 days, but did shop catch any? You know what I mean? I know that there's no stopping that from some of you. All right. You guys take the needle, and no matter what people tell you, you're still going to do your thing. All right. But for the small group of you who actually want to try your hardest and instill some discipline and actually have some sort of game plan in your head before you start pressing buy and sell buttons, this stuff matters. This stuff matters. It's why the market does what it does a lot of times. It's all based on sentiment. Right. Did Amazon catch any action? So that's what it is. So again, breaking down what we saw this week so you understand, okay? It's past tense now. It doesn't do any good. But if you were looking to swing trade anything, yesterday was the perfect day to look for something to play. And the likelihood is you probably would be out of it anyway today because they were all scores, right? They were all scores based on the rip yesterday and then the rip this morning, okay? At the highs, into the highs today is not where you're looking to pull the trigger based on what we're seeing. And doesn't it make sense though? Do you think you could actually find some consistency in this game and buy, make a play on the market, over here, and then make a bet on the market up here again? And you're just going to cash tickets whenever you want? Yeah, it's not even the time of day, though. It's not the time of day. If sentiment's in your favor at 3:45, it's okay to buy something. That's the whole point. There's no rhyme or reason. It's when players emotionally, psychologically, and look at yourself. When you're all bulled up, there's a good possibility what you're ready to buy is going to be a loser. And when you're pooping your bloomers, that's probably a great time to start looking for swing entries. So again, I know, there's a reason why not a lot of people hang around this game and find success, right? Especially when you're looking to trade off your own emotions, There's statistics out there. 90% of so-called quote-unquote traders don't make it because you're not wired for this game. And unless you find some sort of strategy that puts a seatbelt on you from making poor risk-reward decisions, you're going to spin your wheels. You're going to spin your wheels, right? I hear FOMO a lot. FOMO is a riffraff term, okay? You shouldn't have FOMO if you've been paying attention to everything we've been talking about this whole entire rally. You shouldn't have FOMO. Okay? Because if you were paying attention, the last thing you should have been is bearish, right? And maybe you felt like you should have made more money. Maybe some of you did. Maybe some of you made less. The bottom line is you participated and made money in this rally. The people who have FOMO are the people who were shorting this or refused to get in this, even though Sharpies were all in, sentiment was extremely bullish, sweepers were hitting names left and right. Right? Emotionally, they couldn't participate. Those are the people who should have FOMO and do have FOMO. We shouldn't have FOMO at all. Right now, we should be at a point where we allow things to come to us. You want to sell them? All right. You give us a bullish sentiment signal. I'm going to look for something to buy there while you're on tilt. You know? You're getting excited. You're chasing. You got FOMO. I'm going to sit on my hands, day trade, until I get a pull. You're in the driver's seat right now. You're not managing money. You're managing your own money. You don't have anybody to answer to. You know, another term that's a riffraff term, chopped up. Like, I never seen so many people say, oh, chop. Oh, this is chop. I'm getting chopped up. Then what the fuck are you trading for then? What? You said the word chop 665 times over the past week. What the hell are you doing then if you know it's chop and you continuously get chopped up? Doesn't make any sense. You know, if this plays out the way we hope it plays out, you're going to hear that same thing. You heard it today. I saw it today, right? People who chased into the highs, premium drain. This is premium drain. You bought into the highs, dude. Second day of a huge rally. Premium drain? You're lucky they didn't take your asshole off you. Anywho, am I getting my point across? All right. So now to get to like some of the names, okay, that you guys have been mentioning while I'm explaining sentiment. Okay. Yeah, Roku caught some solid action for a change. Okay. I day traded the Roku. Maybe I would have held it if it showed up yesterday morning with everything lined up. But because it didn't, I took that profit off the table. Why not? Why not? Okay. You want to hold it. One, you probably have some nice green as a little cushion. Maybe you give that back. That's part of the risk you may want to take. Okay. But understand that, you know, you're buying something. If I'm saying if you're swinging it for a position, you're buying something late that the market, if the market, okay, Roku looks fine. Like where it caught the action is a perfect spot. Perfect, right? But you got to understand that if this market comes back down to the lower end of this range, you need Roku to buck the trend. Right? It's not as easy as if you pulled the trigger on Roku and the market had higher odds of snapping back in a rally. Like LRCX. Oh, so that's it. If you were dying to own the Roku, okay, and you decided to hold it from here, that's fine. You know, it's not going to kill you. You got a nice spot. You got some cushion. All right, but you understand your risk. You know your risk, right? So if Roku comes back down to here, you're looking to add if you're swinging a couple months out or whatever you're doing. Okay, if you bought Roku weeklies, you know what I mean? Maybe you're holding for a follow through tomorrow and you get out, but you know, at some point, what else you want? What do you want? New highs, weeklies? You know what I mean? So, yeah, I agree. I think Roku caught some solid action, but it was, you know, it was a fantastic day trade. On a day, honestly, today, I didn't think I was going to end up playing anything because when I walked in this morning, everything was bright green. But I actually day traded a couple things today. You know, I was fortunate enough to day trade a couple things. Some of them didn't do much. Some did okay. BHC. That was a nice day trade. I day traded this. I never learned my lesson with this stock, Juniper, but I made a little bit of money on it. I sold it into the Nigerian pump. And what was the other one? There was a cheap stock I played that did nothing. But anyway, you know, my point is no, I didn't pull the trigger on Mark. I was too. I could have made a little money on that. That's a cheap one. What the hell is this big yellow thing on my screen there? I could have scalped that today. I didn't pull the trigger on that. So, you know, like that for me to swing trade something out of today, like it would have had to check off every box for me. It would have had to check off every box. You know, maybe Roku checked off every box for you, and that's fine. You know what I mean? But as you know, you were being selective. You were waiting for a certain something. You got it, and you decide to swing trade. You don't have to be mechanical. You're not a robot. But you got to understand the basic premise. Yeah, Peloton, you know, this is nothing new. This thing's at new highs, catches action every day. If it's red and catches some sweeper activity, it's a pretty decent day trade. You know, like Tesla. She's red. She catches sweeps. It's a pretty decent day trade. But this is old news now. This is old news. All these things, they're old news. You know, they're up at highs of big rips. Yeah, like yesterday, Tesla was down and caught multiple sweeps and happened to be a solid mover. There was a lot. Yesterday, you don't get better than yesterday. Yesterday, we gapped down 600 points on the Dow into bullish sentiment with a 3 handle on the squeezometer and sweepers coming swinging. You don't get better than that. You know, that's where, you know, you want to get sloppy and own for intraday stuff. You want to own whatever you can get your hands on. You know, that was an incredible setup that we don't get enough yesterday. Now, today was the opposite. Today was a gap up, second day of a move, and a squeezometer with a 6 handle. It's a whole different ballgame. Exactly. Yesterday was red to green sweepers all day. There's nothing better than that. There's nothing better than that. Nothing better than that. You know, so like I said, yesterday there was swingable action yesterday, but you know, you didn't even have to take the added risk if you didn't want to, you know, or you could have sold into the gap up this morning. You hold for that extra push, whatever your heart desires. But there were big moves all over the place. And hopefully this is what we get if things play out the way we want them to here. You know, hopefully we get more of it. You know, hopefully maybe you get up day tomorrow, reverse, they sell them some more the following day, and you got another spot there. Now we'll see. You can see that the money on the sidelines is really, really visible. They come in and buy dips like crazy. You know, like crazy. You still got hedge funds short. You know, you still got Sharpies long, riffraff short. That's going to be interesting to see how the Sharpie riffraff scenario looks like at the end of this week. Yeah, I don't play puts. I don't short. I don't do that. I don't do any of that. Oxy. There were a couple energy names. There was a bull risk reversal in the small one. Oxy caught action. CLR caught a little action. But I'm not. I can't chase green, period. I'm going to chase green in energy? Have you lost your mind? I am not doing that. But yeah, there was, what's that? What was that little energy name called a bull risky? Oh, PTEN. All these energy names look similar. Look at this disaster. My Lord. I couldn't believe it. $4 when I saw it. I know this stock. Anyway, if you were looking for an energy play, the spot's not bad on this, you know? It's not like you're coming in chasing this. You got a little dip here. So this spot's not bad. Now, I'm sure it's going to be torture. These things aren't going to be easy. But if you were looking for an energy name to roll the dice on, Okta, I haven't seen anything, you know, I've seen volume, but no good looking sweeps or anything. FS, oh yeah, that's isn't that software? Some of these software, oh my God. These software names, some of these software names look incredible. Still look incredible. You know, some of them needed to breathe a little bit. They did. There's a lot of decent names out there. How about AYX looks great. AYX looks great. Like I feel like right now I own the one I want to own. How about that? You know what I mean? So that's why I don't even have the itch. I own the one I would want to own anyway. Playing dead, laying in the weeds, the best flow on the board. So that's why I'm not even stressing it, you know? No, that's another one. I looked at it today. Damn. There's a lot of good looking names, guys, you know? It's a matter of how much. See, and that's what happened to me. Like with the market, okay, I had to make a decision, okay? The writing was on the wall, right? We discussed this. This was going to come, okay? How deep, how long, there's no way of knowing, okay? Especially without hedge funds and the whole enchilada all in. They're still not in. So it was a really difficult read, like how deep of a correction, how long of a correction this would be, you know? But I had to make a decision, you know, what I wanted to get caught with, you know? I wanted to make sure that if I did get caught and there were weakness in those names, that I had the desire to add if there was flow in them again. So that's why, you know, I sold a lot of things and I ended up holding Plan and BHC. But there's big winners. I mean, this rally has been incredible, incredible. Crowd. There's so, you know what it is, like one stock can't even impress you anymore because there's so many of them. Like, yeah, crowd looks, that's a big move. All right. And then you pull up like an SE and you're like, Christ almighty, 105. So like, you can't even be too impressed by some of these things anymore. It's amazing. Stock never goes down anymore. But there's so, there's a lot of good, strong names out there. That's what it is. If this, see like a rally like we just had, if you get aggressive and you get a little lucky, you can make your career off a move like this. You can make your career off this. And you need some luck. That's why you can't get frustrated, because maybe the next time it sets up like this, you can have luck on your side and you'll touch all the right names and you'll kill it. Todd, I don't even entertain the thought of that. I wouldn't know, you would, like, I don't know how you're getting it. You must be a gut feeling or you're guessing, like where do you come up with that information? Like I don't even try to rack my brain. All I know is when, like I just said, not to sound like a broken record, but when I get bullish sentiment signals over the short term, that's where I'm going to be willing to look for swing entries on, for positions. Does it come at 3,000? Does it come at 2,850? Does it come at 2,900? What? It's not worth the agony of me trying to figure it out. Because I don't think anything applies here. I don't think you got the Fed firing bazookas, right? You got a virus like we've never experienced before, economy getting shut down and locked down. All this stuff, this is my point. All that stuff would not have had you bullish here. I don't care what you tell me. All that stuff that everybody looks at would not have had you leaning bullish here, looking for entries. So that's why I can't waste my time. Super Saiyan Blue, gone with the wind. But it's, so that's it. So that's, targets and all that. Like you guys asked me like a plan or a BHC. Normally the BHC had a nice move percentage wise. Maybe I would have locked that in. 16 to 21 is nothing to sneeze at. But the way I'm playing things now with both the BHC and plan, either I'm going to make a nice hit on these things. Either that's going to come first, or that non-believer crowd is going to capitulate and go all in. Okay, so if they do go all in, that's where I'm going to look to really keep these things tight and get out of them. Of all my swings. I don't want, if I could have my way, when the hedge funds are all in and all that non-believer crowd is finally all in, I don't want to be caught with any positions if I could have my way. See, and that's why I'm not too concerned about what this pull may look like. Because the worse this pull gets, the more I'm going to end up wanting to own. You understand? Example, let's say we come down here, right? Make another low, another high, another low, another high. Let's say we do something like that, okay? And we come down into these neck of the woods. Down here, all that sentiment stuff, all that positioning stuff we look at is probably going to be screaming bullish. And that's where I want to start picking off swings and put together some sort of basket like we did over here. No? So same thing. I may be early, but that's why I'm not playing weeklies, right? And the more they want to hold the market down, the more weakness there is. Whatever sweepers look to buy into that is what I want to own, as far as quality action. So that's why I don't get too concerned about how how deep the pull may be, or where is the low, where could it go to. I did what I had to do. I took off gravy. I took off what I didn't want to get caught with. That's the most I could do. So, yeah, Roku we discussed. Roku, you got to be in it already. If you're not in it off today's action, you're chasing now, right? There was some chatter out there. Google, there's always chatter. But Roku, we've been talking about it for a while now. It's been at a decent spot. Seems like every time we look at it. Finally caught a little bit of action with some mustard behind it. What else? Any other names you guys are eyeing? Set up for that court action? Any small stocks that court action? A lot of small names, unusual names. Google, what's Google look like? I haven't looked at Google. Yep. So Google, like the market. I would want to own it off a dip like that, even for a trade. And there's your trade, that snapback would be your trade. But Google doesn't catch a lot of flow. That's the problem. AMD, same thing. We've been talking about AMD a lot, right? She's still stuck in this consolidation, which is totally normal. But, like we've been saying, if you're buying down here, you got the trade there, right? As far as breaking out and that bigger move, there hasn't been anything at a flow to signal that. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but at a flow, there hasn't been any sharp action. In other words, a player making an aggressive bet on a longer term move. It's been weeklies, it's been front month, it's been small and aggressive, that type of thing. But if you remember, I told you, if AMD gets hit with a missile, you will know it got hit with a missile. I will definitely let you know. Yeah, NVIDIA spilled milk. I would just look to trade the name at this point. So NVIDIA down 4, catches a couple of weekly sweeps. You're playing the snapback. That sort of thing. NVIDIA, the reason why, guys, NVIDIA, they lit up NVIDIA. NVIDIA has caught enough sweepers to kill a small village. There's no dip in this thing. There hasn't been a dip. There hasn't been any consolidation. There hasn't been any selling. So until that shows up, it's just a trade in my eyes, because that's your risk, that it goes into a little bit of a breather. That's your risk now. Oh, what other names? Yeah, AZN catches, it's been in the news a lot and catches a good amount of action. Same thing, if you're looking to trade it, lower end of the range or for dip, you see flow, you can see how choppy this thing is. You know, the majority of stuff, guys, I think you want to look at as that, right? There's not going to be a lot of flow that shows us they're looking for more than that yet, right? Because we may be in consolidation, right? Because like here's the difference, right? Plan saw no action, and then all of a sudden a bazooka shows up in Jan calls. Then missiles show up in November calls, right? So, you know, you could trade this thing still, right? Same way, just like everything else. If you buy off any flow at the lower end of the range, you could sell these rips. They're profitable, okay? The reason I'm holding for more is because there was a bazooka in it. You know, there was a bazooka in it. And its initial activity, and it hasn't moved. You know, it's been playing dead. It's not forced buying. Yeah, like Square, you know, already hatched. You know, Square already hatched. So the same thing, dips, snapback, you clip them. PayPal, this thing's a beast. Look at it. You know, but the risk is if you hold for more than just that snapback, you could get caught in a little bit of a spider web, you know? If that's not what you intend on doing. If you have time, see, I don't like buying names like this with time because they already moved, you know? So you buy names like this with time, let's say this thing trickles up to 166. If you're not going to sell that, there might be a wash at some point. Yeah, FSIV, we spoke about that Sunday. You know, now this thing bounced back. I like the spot off the dip. I wouldn't chase it. Maybe I'm being a little too picky, but the same thing over here. Like that was the problem here, right, for me. Okay? With short-term sentiment heated, do I want to buy this thing even though I have enough time, knowing there are higher odds of something like this at least happening? So if you did pull the trigger here, you should be okay with this, or you should be looking to add into this. You know what I mean? Otherwise, you pass and you wait for it to happen. But yeah, so I wouldn't chase this up day. You know, if it's you get another down day off the market or something like that, and it takes it down with it, that's where I would look. Chewy, let's see Chewy. That too, late to the party. Well, late to the party. You do have a dip here. You know, maybe that's what you're referring to. So if you see some flow come into that, you know, you're playing for snapback. That sort of thing. You know, because you had that here. Like here was the rip, and here was some decent consolidation. You know, so if you see flow for a trade, everything for a trade, there's so many candidates. There's so many good-looking candidates. That's my whole point. For tactical trades, almost everything applies. You know, almost everything off a dip. Yeah, the banks, I can't chase moves in them. If you're going to buy them, you got to buy them when they're dead. They're tough, though. You know, they're tough. They're tough. You know, if you're looking to build a position, maybe you look at a JP Morgan and look to add into weakness with time, you know, because it's not too bad. You don't have that much of a lift there, but they're tough. You know, what's the problem with the banks? they're dinosaurs, right? The new financials are PayPal, Square, Visa, MasterCard. You know, those are the new financials. PAGs. So like these things, I see the allure, but what's like, what are you making a bet on? Like people come in and buy them for value, right? Are you rooting for interest rates to go up? Because they're not going up. Like, what do you what do you want to own the banks for? You know, that's the problem with them. They're cheap. Well, if you're playing them because of that, you got to buy them off weakness and make sure you have a lot of time. Cruise lines. Yeah, I don't have an interest in any of those, in any of these things. Airlines, cruise lines. You have riffraff money in these things now. Yeah, it's a lot of spec action there. I'm not too interested. Again, if you have to pull the trigger off a pull and for a trade. Yeah, right, exactly. Hurts, like, no. Yeah, there's too many good-looking things out there. What the hell I want to buy these things for? Boeing, I'm done with. Boeing, the trade was there. Like you wanted to swing in Boeing, it was there. Now it hatched. You can't put the baby chick back in the egg. You know what I mean? FedEx, what is she looking like? That's not bad. That's not bad if they hit it. You know, again, I'm looking at a chart. I'm looking at the spot here, right? Like when I say not bad, if somebody comes in and sweeps this thing hard, that changes things, right? I'm just looking at spots right now. I'm just looking at spots. TDOC, did she finally breathe? Wow, they can't keep this thing down. They cannot keep this thing down. What an animal. You know, the semis, I think all the semis on dips, you know, we've been talking about it. You want Texas Instruments, all this stuff. You know, if they come back to hit them on dips, you got trades there. A lot of these things are good. You know my feelings on LRCX. I love that stock. Micron also had a little pop. But if they want to keep them down here, we'll take it. Right? We'll take it. So if Micron comes back down here and you see some flow, you got an opportunity in Micron. If they hit it with missiles, you got a TXN opportunity or an NXPI opportunity, right? You got an even better opportunity. But even if they're hitting just weeklies or something, if you like it, you know, at the lower end of this range, you can play for these pops all day long. You just got to wait for them to set up. ASML is a beast. That thing is a beast. I never owned that thing. It caught a few sweeps. It's rare to catch sweeps, but what a beast. Look at this. This is like the most, it's not even like, nobody knows it, you know? It doesn't get any respect. It's a beast. But yeah, this is, you know, Chase now up here. VMW. That was a nice spot yesterday. Again, you would have to chase green now there. I wouldn't do that. We haven't seen flow in VMW in a long time. A long time. This thing used to catch a lot of action. X. Oh, wow. I didn't know that. I don't really play X too much. Used to be a beast back in the day, X, but I don't really play it too much. PANW. That's another one that used to catch a lot of action. I haven't seen action in a while. I know Z-Scaler was down off a downgrade today. Was is the key word. Like, look at that rip. You know, that's a big move. That's a big move. So yeah, let sweepers find these things into weakness, and we could have a party. You know, we could have a party. If they want to melt up the market and they force the non-believers to chase, what are you going to do? That's okay, but we want to be, we want to stay quicker, you know, because you're not going to be able to unravel everything. Not everything's going to move the way you want it to, and then if you're caught 5-6 positions deep, and all of a sudden hedge funds are all in just like that, you're going to be talking to yourself. So the melt-up scenario will be fun over the short term, but net won't be a good thing. Net, speaking of net, that's another great stock. Net. Actually caught the best-looking sweep I've seen in the name yesterday. And they've been sweeping it all year. All right, Cloudera. A lot of good-looking stocks. So we want, you know, we want fresh names. We want new ones. We don't want these, we're all nice trades already, no? Who is the guy speaking in the video? God. Now, that's a beast too. Looks good. Again, dips. You see a dip, you see some flow, you like it, you got to trade. Yeah, Discord big action yesterday. I day traded it, but didn't swing it. Big action. I actually like the September sweep better than the October action. October was all the big volume, and they were cheap though. You know, the September sweep was a pretty good looking sweep. But yeah, if you're already in it off yesterday's spot, otherwise don't chase it. Don't chase it. Twilio, yeah. What do you want me to tell you? It's bearish? Okay, what do you want me to tell you about Twilio? Junior, you like that? CNC, these things, that look at them. They're still just all sitting there, right? Abbott, look how good Abbott looks. Look how good Abbott looks. They don't want to hit it hard. They don't want to hit it hard. That's what I'm waiting for. Look at that. I mean, you couldn't draw up a breather any better than this. You know, same thing, right? Like we've been talking about. You see, it's not magic, but even when they are consolidating like this, if you're playing off the right spots, you got a shot at a trade, even when they're stuck in a web. If you're chasing breakouts, especially when they came off a move like this, not easy. You'd be talking to yourself. So think about that. The person who chased the sweeper into the highs hates this stock. The person who played off a sweeper off the pull loves this stock. See that? See how that works? Same stock, different emotions. TSM, that's another good looking semi. She is breathing, but stretched. There was action here. You know, so you had the little bounce. Here's like the Abbott breather, but shorter, and caught some flow here. So now you're going through another little breather here. See if they hit it. You got a 9er there too. But setting up anyway. You know, again, because you don't want to chase this rip and you're waiting for this breather. Now you're hoping maybe sweeps can give you a heads up. Boeing dumping. Yeah, Boeing's going to drive people nuts. There's people trying to short Boeing. You got riffraff trying to get long Boeing up here. It's done with. You don't want to fool around with that stuff now. Keys. That had a nice little pull, huh? Keys, this is software? Keys? Or is it, yeah, Keys is software, I think. But this is what you're looking for, this. Even if you're a little early and it goes a bit lower, right? So even if you bought it here, you know, and it goes lower for a few days, you still got a better shot at a snapback, these strong stocks. Baba, yeah, Baba's always tough. There are a lot of hands in this Baba, very choppy. JD is the one I wish we had a better spot on. The flow in JD is just unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah, it's starting to look like SE. You're right. You're right. This thing had trouble, like it was sluggish over here. But they were buying it through the virus and everything. And then finally now she's opening up. You know, so again, you could still look for trades off these little breathers type things. But, you know, to start a position up here, go out a couple months, that's not something I would do. You know, if you get a longer breather, then you could look for something like that, in my opinion. You know, that's the risk, that you get caught in a lengthy breather. Yeah, they're getting that dual listing, right. CIM, that was interesting action. That was that off the Fed? Off the Fed news? What the hell were they buying this pig for? A lot of action there. So there's more, you know, a spec name, and there were a ton of action yesterday. Ton of action. Yeah, it was a REIT. I think off the Fed, one of the Fed announcements, that's where all the flow got hot. But yeah, ton of action there. Ton of action. You know, there's a REIT. They've been buying some of these REITs. They got destroyed. These things got absolutely destroyed. So yeah, I would definitely keep an eye on it off the flow. It was definitely aggressive action, spec action, you know, spec action. It is a REIT though. I guess short covering it can move. Looks like it moves, right? 8 to 11. That's a big move. You know, it's weird, right? Who the hell? You don't usually look to trade REITs. But when they get shorted and destroyed like this. All right, REGN's a stud. Any dip there you can look to buy. That's a stud. Oh, ABBV caught a Jan bet yesterday. Not the most ideal spot, but it was off a dip. Nice snapback. Rallied yesterday and some more today. Yeah, there's no short list of names to trade, guys. You can see all of these names. Neo, that was a big miss on my part. There was a lot of flow there. But, you know, that we spoke about Neo. You would have to buy either equity or dated calls and tuck it away. It wasn't really a trade. It happened to get really hot here. but a ton of action. NKLA, yeah, I wouldn't. There's a lot of stock replacement blocks, but you know, what do you want to do with this? The stock just went from 8 to what? 100? Like, what do you want to do with this though? Oh yeah, it went from 8 to 100. I think I'm gonna tuck it away at 100 because it's cheap. Yeah, you missed the boat. You know, you missed the boat. There's a lot of them. DKNG, boy, did I miss the boat. I missed the boat. Missed the boat. You know, so that's what I'm saying. We're looking for the next batch of these. You understand? These we're talking about names that were all nice winners that we owned, you know? So these names, some of these names you all owned. We want now a new DraftKings. You know, we want a new Neo. We want a new SE, for Christ's sake. Yeah, this PD caught some action, but nothing major. A couple people in the room, I don't know if they still owned it. But yeah, it looks interesting. Had a nice move the last couple of days. Doku, that's what I mean. We want the next Doku. Doku's kaput. Like, what are we going to do here with Doku? Stock goes up every day. It's amazing. What did MDB end up doing? That's a little breather there. This thing's $200. You realize it's $200. Seems like just yesterday we were looking at the thing at 125. It's 200 off a poll. Coop. Wow. Unreal. Unbelievable. Yeah, that's obviously a chase now. Team breather? Yeah. Yeah, little breather there. Look at the wide ranges on these things too, right? Like these dips have been steals. You don't even need the risk of holding the stock. You could just buy them off the dips and sell them. But yeah, it doesn't dip too often. Which work? Yeah, let me see work. I haven't looked at that in a while. Work. Oh yeah. That's a better spot off the pole. Not bad. Bill, I know that name, Bill. Yeah. That looks good. I looked at it. I think a buddy of mine showed me yesterday or the day before. Bill, that's an interesting look. Bill.com. Unbelievable. All these names. I just saw another name that wait, you guys somebody flashed and I just forgot the symbol. God, I just drew a blank. Oh, did you guys see this one? My favorite China name that I was gonna hold forever, but I sold it anyway. Billy, don't you lose my number. That's a good looking stock right there. You sold it today? All right, well, that's better than I did. Unreal. How about the flow in Billy, though? There's buying every day. Every day. Yesterday, they went berserk yesterday. They went berserk. QD's a dog. That's a squeeze name, if anything, you know? You're hoping they squeeze it. Yeah, that's a piece of garbage. You hope they squeeze it, if anything. Yeah, IQ had news. IQ, too, has been a pig, but caught the news. Why? Haven't seen, this thing used to catch action, a lot of action. It's been quiet. Why? That got hot, too, huh? PDD, there's been tons of action in this thing. Tons. Tons in PDD. Yeah, I gotta go. Thank you for the reminder, Trey. Jesus Christ. God almighty, what would I do without you, Trey? I gotta go. I got my daughter's thing. RNG looks decent. You know, it's stretched, but at least she's been breathing a little bit. All right, but we're looking for some new names. That's what we want, some new names. You know, if you're looking for a software name that hasn't hatched, plan, still right around these levels, and there's been some big action. The rest, they're all gone. All right, guys, good luck the rest of the week. Look for red. Buy red. Ulta, let me see Ulta. Yeah. We don't really see too much sweeper activity in Ulta anymore. But yeah, see, that's what you were waiting for. Like, see this? That's why you didn't want to buy here. Here you go. And this is where you want to own it. God forbid this thing catches a sweep. It'd be nice. But yeah, I like it better here. All right, ladies and gents, thanks for stopping by. All right. Talk to you soon. Stay safe.